Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Real Football Talk. I have Adil with me. Adil, how are you?
I'm good.
Looking very happy.
Am I?
You're being reserved now, but just before we started recording, we're a bit happy.
Just happy to see you. Happy to do the podcast.
What a week. I mean, just before we started recording, Ranieri been sacked. There's stampede happening in the African Cup of Nations. I think 6 people dead. But let's get to the business. Spurs versus Chelsea. Let's begin. I mean, before we go into the game itself and how it went, the goal, disallowed goal for Kane. I mean, to me, it didn't seem like a real push and shouldn't have been disallowed. What did you make of it?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are saying it's a 50-50 one. I just think it's a foul.
You think
it's a foul. Doesn't matter whether you think it's, a big push, light push. As soon as you put your arm and gain advantage from it and the guy makes a meal out of it, it's a foul. The whole season we've seen, people with barely less touch than that win penalties. Why is it any different for a defender? If the defender goes and splats himself on the floor and slides across the 6-yard box, but it's gamesmanship too, isn't it? It's not only gamesmanship when it's not only clever play when the striker wins a penalty. It's clever play when the defender wins.
If you look at it from the Chelsea perspective, or if you look at it from Thiago Silva's perspective, it's.
I don't see the hoo-ha. Did he touch his back? Yeah. Did he slightly push him? Yes. Did he make a meal out of it? Yeah.
But is it enough for him to fall the way he did? Isn't it?
It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Like I said, the way the game is being played now, it doesn't matter. You get it? Nowadays you got players, running into keepers and getting penalties.
But do you
later on? So,
do you reckon if it's the other way around in terms of, I mean, we'll come to that point you made about running into keepers. If it was the other way around where Thiago Silva put his hand on Kane, he would have been given a penalty. Because that happens a lot, especially in the Premier League, where people are grabbing, so on and so forth.
Maybe not in that exact scenario of grabbing or being physical, because one is in the act of defending, and generally to defend you have to get tight on your man and get a bit physical. But the thing is, we see it in many other incidences where little or no touch, if the striker goes down, or if a guy leaves the leg out but doesn't do enough to actually tackle the person or touch the person and they fall around, they're going to get a penalty. So that it works both ways, isn't it? You can't make the game only to suit strikers. At the end of the day, everyone's saying, "Oh, he's going too fast." It don't matter. Bottom line is, Kane had more time with his shot because he pushed someone out the way very slightly. Is it soft? Yeah, I agree. Do we like it? Not really. But when you look at the way the game is refereed, that's a bit more clearer than some of the stuff that get, given nowadays.
We'll come to more controversial decisions in the next games. Don't worry. In terms of Chelsea, and we'll talk about Spurs a bit later on. What did you make of them? I mean, 2-0 win, comfortable win. It seemed like dominated the whole game.
Yeah, it's a bit. The thing is, when you see their lineup, you see Spurs lineup, and you think Mourinho straight away. 6 defenders on the pitch. I'm sure Mourinho was doing stuff like that last season. Yeah, so you're straight away thinking Mourinho.
Well, I mean, I think they haven't won in 37 games or something like that in Stamford Bridge.
Then you're watching the performance, and you're thinking Mourinho performance. There's no ambition there really. They're just playing to defend, playing to nullify Chelsea.
But
and then guess what? You hear the Conte speak at the end, and guess what? You realize it is Mourinho, but in the Why? He literally forfeited the game to give a message to the board, sign me some players. Listen to me. He's pleading with them. So, it feels like he used the game to make a point about, the lack of support he's probably getting from the board. He's harped on about this transfer strategic meeting, and the club knows what he wants, and he needs players, and he's done his review and analysis of the squad, and now you can tell he's starting to boil over to the next stage. But he's a winner, and at the end of the day, he don't want to play second fiddle to nobody.
He knows who he got into bed with though, and then leave it. So
yeah, but unfortunately, owners have a very good way of making promises and reassuring things that they don't plan to do. Well, in Livy's case, rarely plans to stick to. So, thing is, he's doing it because you always felt they went for managers that alienated themselves. Conte is not that type of manager. He unites the club, he unites players, he unites fan bases. But he's not the type of manager you don't want to support, because the fans will turn on you very quickly.
Yeah,
it's happened, at Inter when they weren't supporting him straight away, and the Chinese owners tried stamping their authority and soon realized Conte has got that whole franchise behind him. They started to spend the money because they realized the pressure. They started to get him every signing he wanted, and he delivered.
He did.
He delivered. Did he spend a lot of money? Yeah, but he delivered. Does he? Really think about resale value and things like that? No, he doesn't. He'll get veterans. He'll get guys on high wages. He'll get leaders and characters, but he'll win. And that's the fact. So I don't think this is one where Levy will get away with kind of not supporting. I think he'll feel the backlash, and you can see it. You see the supporters, the way they, watch when you watch the matches. They've got a different level of belief. It reminds me a bit of the way Everton fans became when Ancelotti came. Suddenly, because we've got a Champions League and serial winner, suddenly we're a big fan. It just felt like they felt they were amongst the elite. And it kind of got that same feeling with Tottenham. And Tottenham have been a successful club in terms of they are amongst the big boys of the Prem.
Yeah.
But you can tell they really got that belief that they're going to win stuff.
But they're
going to challenge for stuff.
Let's look at that goal. I mean, it kind of goes into what you said about having 6 defenders, because all 6 defenders were there, literally in the box. You had 3 at the back post and the 3 around Ziyech, but none of them really pushed out to Ziyech quick enough.
Yeah, I think they got caught cold because that was literally like the first attack of the second half. And they kind of got caught cold, not engaging and not really, because even though they didn't show much ambition in the first half, they grew. They kind of got better in handling the way Chelsea started the first half, the first 10-15. At that time, it felt like Chelsea were going to blow them away in the first 10 minutes, but. Spurs did get to grips with it. By the end of the half, even though Chelsea still dominated possession, they really weren't that threatening. There's a couple of chances from crosses, but it's crosses, and Lukaku could have got some, maybe a chance on his right foot. But, so second half, they just started really slow. And a couple of really good balls, played in to get it into Ziyech.
Great goal, though.
A good run by Mount as well, just to get it in. By Odoi to get it into And that's the thing. You can tell the message must have been, Tanganga's on yellow. Go
Right.
for him. You know, the refs had to speak to him a few times. He ain't gonna get. So the first action is straight away go outside of Tanganga, cut in, play the ball to Ziyech, and then what a goal, what a finish that was.
Top bins.
I mean, that didn't look like going in the whole way through. And I didn't even. I couldn't tell if it actually went. It's like even the fans done a delayed celebration. He done a delayed. It was like, how the heck did that go in?
But he's got that in his locker, hasn't he? You know, he's got that left foot, like
he's had quite a few close ones. I think he's even hit the angle or the framework a few times with that shot. So
it's been
and he takes his fair share of shots. In the first I took good 3 or 4 around the same area. He's got a wonderful left foot, but that's a shot that when you set it, in that angle that high, it's really hard to judge. And when you look from behind the goal, the camera behind the goal, you think, oh, really, Lloris should have made an effort for it, because he was kind of on that side of the goal. But when you watch it from where Ziyech shot it and how high the ball is, you're gonna, it always looked like it had too much on it. It always looked like that. So it was a real, beauty, really.
Second goal, I mean, Chelsea really strong on set pieces. Great header from Thiago Silva.
Yeah, they were quite threatening on the set pieces. Thiago Silva had a few chances before that. Spurs have really brought that Italian style defending on set plays, where it's like, I've watched them a few times, and the way they are defending on set plays is like, it's proper Italian side style, completely like manhandling you and really grabbing you and doing all the dark arts. So yeah, I think I was still surprised how well Chelsea were able to still fashion chances from that type of tight marking. But Thiago Silva, his quality. I mean, he's been playing out of this world this season. I think he's been a standout performer. And he done it in a 2 at the back yesterday. They played a 4. They did switch to a semi-5. It was like a hybrid 5.
He's done it previously, isn't it? With the Ziyech kind of like loitering around, not fully committed, but
yeah. So it was a 4 and 1 side wing back. So
new system in play. In terms of Spurs, Adil, I mean, what do they really need? I mean, they're close to signing, I think, Traore for 20 million. What other areas do they need for Conte to really, push this team on to, I don't know, top 4 or maybe a bit more this season?
Yeah, the Traore one's a bit of a strange one when you got Wijnaldum. I mean, when you got Bergwijn. It's a bit of a strange one because you think, Bergwijn, in terms of raw pace, strength of, I mean, I thought Bergwijn in that first half looked really good. He caused a lot of problems for the back line.
Do you reckon it's maybe because he can play him as a wing back as well, more threatening? That's why.
Yeah, I mean, possibly that's the thing. It's hard to tell what role they're going to play him. They're going to play him as, the striker, the Lukaku role, the pace, the power, the strength, alongside Kane, or are they going to play him in the wing back role? It's hard to tell in Conte's system where he fits in. I think you might be right. It might be the wing back role because one thing for sure is they want to get, they want to move on players like Doherty.
Well, he's not really happy with either of the right backs at the moment. You can tell that kind of.
Yeah, but if you look at Conte, he knows what he wants. He does the same stuff wherever he goes. He likes converting wingers especially the right-sided one is always basically a converted winger.
Yeah.
Even the left-sided one does tend to be a converted winger, but always the right side. So we've done it with Victor Moses. He's done it with, he's done it at Inter with, he brought Ashley Young for that reason at the beginning. But that's how Conte plays it, where he's confident in his ability to teach players the defensive discipline and his system, and he wants fast, strong wingers who dribble at pace. Hakimi. So yeah, he does suit that role of the right wing back.
Do you think they need another midfielder, maybe one more defender?
They need a lot. I think they need a lot.
Yeah.
But when you see Højbjerg, that's all right, but Højbjerg is reminds me of Xhaka nowadays, where so much of his game is good, and you see so much of what he does is good, but he has moments that are just reckless. And maybe not as reckless as Xhaka. Xhaka has serious mental lapses, yeah. But there's moments where Højbjerg just forgets he's a midfielder or defensive midfielder, and he's nowhere to be seen. Completely abandoned his position, and you just think for most of that game, you're seeing him do his role really well. But he will have these moments where he's totally doing the wrong thing at the wrong place.
What do you make of Skip? Because I know a lot of Tottenham fans, they're really excited about him, and they've been really happy with how he's been performing.
He's the perfect squad player. He's got ability, he dribbles, he takes the ball under pressure, he passes square a lot. But at the end of the day, it's not too bad in Conte's system when you got three in the middle. But sometimes at home, especially, he wants to go to two in the middle and three up top. So that's where the limitations, because what Skip does is to get the ball forward, he'll dribble it. He'll dribble it forward and then pass forward. Otherwise, it's going square or back. Okay. So when you got two in the middle, you don't want a dribbler, because if he gets tackled, that's it. Or he's eating into the space of the attackers. So you kind of you think he needs playmakers in that midfield. That's how his system is. He had Brozovic before in Inter. He likes having those. He had Fabregas in Chelsea. So I'd be surprised if they're not looking to get some sort of playmaker, in there to start dictating things in the middle and getting the ball. He likes quarterbacks. I think someone like Ruben Neves could suit the system quite well. Positionally, plays defensive, likes to spray the ball about. He needs one of them. Even Pjanic not getting game time at Barca. I don't know if he's been set out on loan anywhere, but you can what the Conte template is, and that squad does not suit his template at all. You can just see that. So definitely needs an overhaul to suit Conte's needs.
It's only his first loss since he's joined, so he's still getting a lot out.
Yeah, but you can already tell with Conte, he don't even though the pressure from the fans and the board will be top four, he wants titles. You can even feel it this year. You can feel, they lost in the semi-final of the cup. You can just feel, he's not that. You're not going to change a winning mentality. You're not going to make him be a manager that's happy with top four. He really wants to compete now. He wants to close the gap now. He wants to really mix with the big boys now. He wants to win titles now. I don't know. For me, I just think I love that. I see that. I think, wow, that's he's not excited by getting top four. He's not. You can see the frustration of losing to Chelsea yesterday. You can just see it. Doesn't want to accept accept it.
I mean, he's a winner, isn't it? So that's the least you would expect. In terms of Chelsea, I mean, is this the turnaround for them? Kind of to give them that boost to the, because I mean they've been really dropping quite a few points lately.
It seemed like they needed that just to get their confidence going and their thing. But obviously, they're going to go away to the Club World Cup soon. So
yeah,
I think it'll help them. This game is probably the game they needed just to get back on it, get back to what they're good at. I think it's clever that he's slightly adjusted the system and he's gone to a more, a hybrid 4-2-3-1.
Yeah,
I think that's clever because when you have an indifferent form, players start questioning the system, and sometimes, even though that system's been so successful, sometimes just slight variation is just the mental release the players need, just to get that that thought out of the system. So I think that they'll go back to their consistent, dominating ways.
soon.
The mini crisis is over.
Let's look at the other contenders for the title. Well, I mean, whatever's left of it. Palace versus Liverpool. What did you make of Liverpool's? I mean, fast start, poor defending for the first goal, but I mean,
I mean, I quite similar to the way Tottenham really approached the game against Chelsea. Is really disappointed in Crystal Palace in that first half. They literally gave Liverpool so much respect, and they dropped so deep and put so many guys back without looking to press or engage at any point. So it's real confused tactics. First half, as well as much as we've praised Patrick Vieira and Crystal Palace, that first half was terrible from them. They sat off, they dropped deep, they didn't engage, they still left gaps. It's like, how you being so
deep and
ambitious, but still leave so many gaps and make it so easy for Liverpool to play around your pass. So that first half is, I thought Crystal Palace were terrible. They were in fear of Chelsea, gave them way too much of Liverpool, and they gave them way too much respect. Liverpool, you have to give it to them. They went all out.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole first half, the amount of players they pushed forward in the wide areas, the amount of they left. Sometimes they just left Van Dijk and Matip, and everyone was gone, including Fabinho. And I was like, what the heck? Normally, at least Fabinho's there, but even Fabinho's going to pushing on to get in on the action.
But I mean, as you said, but they probably can because of how deep Crystal Palace were.
Negative Crystal Palace were. Yeah, and the thing is, I think the last 5 minutes of the first half was so important to Crystal Palace because they proved to themselves, hold on, we can compete with this team.
Yeah.
They had a couple of good chances. Mateta had a great chance, or Lisa had a great chance. And that was right towards the end. And suddenly it's like, oh, we can give this team some problems. They suddenly remembered some of their qualities. Second half, I thought Vieira was quite clever in his use of Jeffrey Slupp, and they kept him up forward, but as a advanced left-sided midfielder.
Okay.
And that was causing Matip all sorts of problems because Chelsea are so determined. I mean, Liverpool are so determined to
engage,
kind of be on the front foot and defend on the front foot. He kept leaving Van Dijk isolated to pick up Schlupp. And the gaps between him and Van Dijk became big. So I thought, and obviously, Liverpool was still going for that same everyone overloading, Henderson pushing forward, Jones pushing forward, the fullbacks pushing forward. And the clever thing was Mateta kept dropping into the false nine position. So then he was occupying Fabinho. And so then what happens is suddenly Van Dijk has Edouard running in behind. And Van Dijk wants to play offside all the time. And again, so that leaves the late run of Mateta. And so that picture that we saw for the goal that Edouard ended up scoring, they actually create that picture a lot of times. And eventually Liverpool made the adjustments to kind of and stop going so gung-ho with it. But that was intelligent, that was good. And it's just a shame really that while Crystal Palace built a lot of momentum, the referee spoiled the match.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Do you think they'll feel hard done? Because, I mean, let's look at the second goal. Would you not say it's offside because Firmino is interfering with play?
Yeah, obviously, I mean, that's clear cut offside because he went for the ball.
Yeah,
and he did affect the positioning of Mitchell. It did affect. So that's clear cut offside. I don't know if they checked it. I don't think they checked it. I'd be surprised if they did check it and still.
I think they did check it. It said,
well, that's ridiculous. You know how that's not offside
because it's clearly
they're ruling out goals for people being by the side of the goalkeeper, not even in front of the goalkeeper, and they've ruled out goals, and they're not going to rule out something like that where it's affected the whole play. So yeah, I think again comes back to everything we've been saying for over a year, which is the problem is the VAR, it's the English referees and the PGMO and whoever manages them. They're full time, and
Well, I mean, I'm going to keep
you around to understand the game.
I'm going to keep you around going because the third goal that made that penalty.
Yeah, that tells you everything. That tells you everything about the standard of these officials and whether the game is being refereed by the on-field. It's so strange.
Well, he went to see it though. He went to see it.
Last year, everyone was crying about, they want the on-field referee to make the decision. They want him going over to the screen. And it's like, okay, now he's going to the screen, but guess what? It's still the off-field referee making the decision. What does the referee running down to the side and looking at the screen make the difference? What difference has it actually made? It's still the guy in the VAR booth calling the shots. So it was never really about going over to a screen.
I can't tell
how referees got a basic understanding of the game.
But Adil, how is he giving that? On what basis can he give that? I mean, Jota miskicks the ball goes away, then runs into the keeper.
This one is absurd simply because of the fact that the referee never gave the decision. Well, gets told to go to the monitor, and after seeing how ridiculous it is, and you should have really got confidence that I was 100% right in my decision. He overrules his own decision. It's like, what are you watching in the videos that I don't think even Liverpool fans believed it was ever a penalty. So you have to question who was the referee in the booth, in the VAR booth. You have to question. There's a lack of common sense and understanding the game, even the rules. And what advantage is lost? What makes it more frustrating? The ball was going straight out of play.
Yeah, but all right, maybe.
And it was a really exciting game.
But maybe against Crystal Palace, it wouldn't matter. But they'll probably stay up this season, so on and so forth. But if he was
every point matters. I don't agree with this point. The league isn't only about relegation and title and Europe. Every point matters to these clubs.
It's
their fans.
It's just how they're affecting the whole game with these stupid decisions every single time.
Yeah,
it's having massive impact within the game itself.
You tell those fans, innit, whether it doesn't matter. Mid-table is good enough for them to turn up and spend their money. Every decision counts. Doesn't matter whether they're fighting for anything or not. Bottom line is, people want to watch a good game. People want to watch fair competition.
Yeah.
And the strangest thing is, everyone thought the bias towards the big teams would minimize with the introduction of VAR. I just see it as it just shows how much the referees are pressured by the big teams, that it's still happening. The favorite, all these calls are always going towards the big teams.
Well, against the same teams, in favors of the same teams, yeah.
Well, even the big teams against the lower teams are still getting their decisions. Yeah, some are getting it more than others, but even the other big teams against lower teams get favorable decisions. So yeah, you have to see in there, like, if the video evidence is showing so clearly the decisions are wrong, and then they don't have the decency to admit they're wrong, there's something seriously wrong, isn't it? There's something. It's a corrupt system. You have to question whether there's people influencing these decisions or not, because
we'll never know, because they're not gonna.
It's not, but it's no longer subjective. Some of it is no longer subjective.
Yeah.
Fabinho being offside, not Fabinho, Firmino being offside, clearly trying to header the ball. That's not subjective.
Yeah, that's clear cut. That's clear.
That's interfering with play. If you look at the consistency of decisions, the way the game has been refereed the whole of this season, that is consistently an offside call.
Yeah.
You look at the Jota penalty sin, that is consistently not a penalty. You have,
Well,
so
it's not even subjective. It's clear and obvious. It's not.
That's what I mean. So now you have to start questioning, when big teams and these teams are getting favorable decisions, why is it? It's not even subjective, some of these calls. You got video evidence. You're looking at the video evidence. What can you hide behind now? And that's the funniest thing. That's why when they give these explanations, they get mocked even more, because the explanations don't make sense. It's like they've ignored what's really happening on the game.
I mean, they don't even follow their own steps that they say, oh, we follow this, and go by this, and then just completely ignore everything.
It changes every week, and what they follow. Like I said, what I said a few times, the same reason that they'll back themselves for a decision is the same reason they'll use to, they're using it both sides. The same reasons they're using both sides for giving a decision and for not giving the decision.
It's funny, because I couldn't believe both the decisions, how they could.
I was just gutted, because it was a really good game.
Well, I mean,
and that incident kind of just flattened it out.
Palace in the second half, they really looked like.
If at that time, it felt like Palace might get a second, might draw, might get something out of it. So it's a shame.
And then, what did you make of Ole's? Because he looked a real handful in the second half.
Yeah, I think
finally growing into.
I really felt he should have done better with his chance in the first half.
Yeah.
Kind of hit it straight at Alisson. That was a real good chance. And that gave him the confidence he needed in the second half to go. But he's been hitting form. He's good technically.
Taking a bit of time, but you would expect that, considering the jump up.
Yeah, I mean, he got injured as soon as he signed for the club. So, missed preseason, missed a lot of the key. So it always takes a bit longer to catch up mid-season. And yeah, he's a good player, neat player. Quality, got end product, makes a difference.
I mean, do you think this puts a bit more pressure on Man City now, considering Man City drew Liverpool on 48 points? If they win, they'll be on 51, 6 points behind. Brings that game into play that they got, because I mean, surely Man City can't win the rest of the 50.
Well, it keeps it interesting for a few more weeks,
Mm.
you know, whether it really adds pressure. It just means maybe City can't rotate
as much.
as they might do, and you know they got less of a buffer. But I said that anyway. I really don't believe City are that much better than some of that team. It's just, you know, yeah, their consistency and their leadership and their know how doing the right things and see, you know, really how they see games out and leads out is what's the difference. But in terms of gameplay, you know, setup, mentality, the first 11s, I don't think Chelsea and Liverpool are so far away from City. But yeah, squad, you could say definitely. And, you know, that know-how of what it takes to just see out. And then City have had a lot of 1-0s.
Yeah.
So, you know, they know how to see games out.
I mean, what did you make of this result against Southampton? I mean, 1-1, Southampton getting early.
I was really impressed. I was really impressed with City, the reaction to it, because they conceded that right early in the first 10 minutes.
10 minutes, yeah.
And the mentality of those players, man, I mean, they really took it to Southampton. And Southampton had a great game plan, you know.
Yeah.
You can tell they've really got a formula that works against City. And what is that formula? It's trusting the ability of your players. Go man for man.
Yeah.
You know, without being reckless the way Leeds might do it. But off the ball, when it comes to defending, they go man for man. And on the ball, they pass, they be brave, they dribble. They're not afraid of taking the ball under pressure.
Mm.
So they force the City team to start retreating. I mean, what City will do, they'll press for a while. And then this is the difference. Maybe the old Pep team never used to do. Then they'll admit defeat and they'll sit off.
Yeah.
Because they've realized, okay, this team's good at keeping the ball. And that's the maturity of the City team. But just the thing that amazed me while watching that game is the individual intensity and mindset of the players. You know, you got Laporte. Every one of those players is going that extra mile
just to get
to push and pressure and commit Southampton and disturb their system. And it's a mega mentality.
Do you think there should have been a sending off? I mean, on Laporte, really high. You can see the damage it's done to him.
When you look at it nowadays, yeah, I think it is in the sense that because it was so late, like the ball was gone, and kind of just leaving your studs in there. But again, it's one of those ones that is, you know, because you've seen it, players get away with it. But I think nowadays that is a red.
I mean, if that's Xhaka, that's definitely a red.
Which one?
I said if that's Xhaka, that's definitely a red. You don't need to look at it twice.
But that's because Xhaka will get up and wave his hands like he didn't even touch the player, and then he's like, "Okay, you deserve a red just to pretend you didn't even get a touch on the man, and you got the whole ball. You go like this, whole ball, and like, you know what? Just get off the pitch. You literally rugby tackle the player, and you're pretending you didn't even touch him."
I mean, point drops for City, but I mean, it doesn't really do too much, does it? I mean, they play really well.
Southampton, you know, all right. They've had big losses, but a lot of that is when they had a backline decimated, a lot of injuries. This season they've been very consistent, quite consistent against the big team. Their style is that style that, because they play football, they almost find it easier to perform against the better teams, the bigger teams, because they're all about pressing, they're all about dominating the possession, the ball, attacking with pace. So it ends up being that their style and the way they set up, it causes the bigger teams problems. So I don't think this is a way at Southampton for the big teams. I think that's a tough fixture now, especially if they haven't got injury problems. You know, they're a tough team to break down. and play against. They've
Very
got
difficult,
good
very
players. They've got
difficult.
players in form.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking a bit about Arsenal. Let's move to Arsenal. Draw at home against Burnley. I mean, resilient Burnley, but Arsenal didn't really create anything.
It was a bit of a chore watching that on.
Yeah.
Real lack of creativity. I mean, they picked up the tempo second half, but the style and the first half is like they just didn't even want to be there.
Yeah.
But second half they tried putting the pressure on. They tried, but ultimately, you're playing against Burnley. Getting the ball out wide and crossing it that's their bread and butter. Headering crosses away from the box is their bread and butter. And Arsenal never ever looked to go through the middle.
Even if when they crossed it in, there's only two people in the box, and the two are mostly is coming from the left. One was Lacazette, and the other is Saka. Come on, like you're not going to win against Burnley.
The problem is, we've spoken about the virtues of having, inverted wingers. Yeah. Well, against these teams, this is the downside of having inverted wingers. Is it takes that bit longer for them to get the cross in.
Yeah.
And it always takes an extra touch. And guess what? It's not as good, and it's easier to read. Why? Because they always have to cross it with their stronger foot. But before they end up going to their stronger foot, they try to cut back in onto their strong, weak foot. Before they try and go back to the stronger foot. So what happens is everything becomes a lot more easier to read. So I was surprised that tactically it didn't change it much. I was genuinely surprised. I actually thought you need to get Saka on the other side.
Well, maybe switch the
throw to the right, and get those cross. The only way you're gonna beat this Burnley team with that tactic of getting balls into the box and crossing it and going out wide is get it in earlier, get it before the defenders can set, beat them to it. But it was just always too many touches, weaker foot crosses, and I was just disappointed that they never tried really opening up the pitch to the middle. You got playmakers, you got Odegaard, you got guys who are meant to be able to unlock teams, and it was just going out wide.
These are the games why I kept talking about where I have issues with players like Odegaard. Like you're being brought to open up teams like this, and you can't do anything.
Yeah, and the thing is,
you got to make a difference. You're the number 10. You're the creative spark of the whole team.
Yeah, but if Ozil was playing, everyone would be going on like Ozil had a lazy game.
Yeah,
no,
100%.
There's no creativity.
Oh, you know what, Adi? You say that, but Ozil would have created 3 clear-cut chances.
Yeah, but everyone's but a 0-0 at home against Burnley, the creative spark of the team will get the blame. Odegaard gets nothing. You get it? It's like non-existent in the whole game, not doing enough.
Yeah, but he didn't do anything though. That's why
for someone like Ozil was going down that side again. Yeah. But I just felt like, this is Burnley, 4-4-2. There's space in that. You're playing against. You have to get the ball central. You've got to disrupt the unit. You can disrupt it out wide all you want.
They won't care.
If you play the space centrally, how are you going to create chances for Lacazette?
But you could see Burnley were happy with Arsenal playing around on the left hand side or right hand side. They didn't care. Yeah. But as soon as you came into near the box, bam.
And it was very easy for them to get it out wide. That's why I was surprised they did nothing to try and make the attack and try to commit the midfielders and the centre back of Burnley and try and disrupt those central players. They just did not do enough, and just lacked that creativity.
Like that clinical edge as well. There was nothing in the box. There was, even though Lacazette was.
Yeah, it's always just Lacazette and then a few guys on the edge.
It didn't feel like he was gonna score, if you know what I mean. You just
And it felt like it's a bit easy just to get it out wide. Like Arsenal just took the easy option. There was no one really brave to say,
does this
pass
show
it to the middle, let me take a few touches, let me commit. Because Burnley allowed them the width, it just seemed like, let's just take the easy option.
Yeah.
Get out wide, switch the play to the other flank and get the ball in the box. It was like no one wanted to really take ownership and say, give it to me in the tight areas where I might have, Westwood or someone trying to take a lump out of me. I'm going to commit them. I'm going to engage. I'm going to really try and attack through the center of this Burnley team.
I mean, you can tell we really, I mean, with Aubameyang, I don't know, sources telling us that obviously Arteta don't want him. So we really need attacking reinforcement, really.
Yeah, the thing is,
Vlahovic deal seems like it's off anyways. So
I never ever felt that was on. When it's that hard to negotiate, and we're talking about Italian,
yeah,
Italian leagues famous for posturing and kind of always having a deal in place with another Italian team. They've got this code where they have to keep these good players within their league because they're still trying to sell Serie A, the brand, and they got, they're really trying to hit the Chinese market, so they got to keep some superstars. So they rather sell between their big clubs than outside. So yeah, I never ever once really felt confident Arsenal could get it. If they do, that's why I say if they manage to get that through, then you have to rate Edu. He's getting some tough negotiations done. But I just think they've taken a lot of risks in the market because I understand the need to get rid of some of the fringe players. But Maitland Niles, Mari, Kolasinac, a couple of others, I think, possibly Nketiah as well. Are they, making the squad a bit too thin? I don't, because there's a downside to it. You might want to trust your small squad, but these players you can't actually trust. Some of them might be on good form now, but if they don't have that pressure of someone potentially available to take their spot.
Yeah.
Like for example, Lacazette. If they get rid of Aubameyang, well, he knows Nketiah will never really step up to take his place. And then he also knows his contract's running out.
You can play hard.
Is his motivation going to go down a bit? He ain't gonna. Right now, he's playing for a contract somewhere else, not Arsenal. So he's giving it his all because he needs to be playing. Once you get rid of Aubameyang, he don't have no threat about being in that lineup.
Yeah.
So things like that, I think Arsenal, in their desire to plan long term, they might be, they might be taking many risks in the short because they're on good form. They're challenging for top four. Those players could become handy.
Who would you get? I mean, obviously they clearly need a striker. Who would suit this Arteta system?
Well, look, we all know he wants Vlahovic because Vlahovic kind of plays that false line playmaker striker role, which Lacazette is doing. So they want a like for like. They want that striker who can play a false nine. So, Vlahovic ticked that box. So they're going to look for players like that. But I just think January is always a really difficult market to do, huge squad changes.
So let me ask: should they keep Aubameyang then? Because I mean, if you get rid of him, then you're just.
I would keep him. Personally, I don't. He's not turned into a. But we don't. The thing is, we don't know how far his ill discipline towards respecting his teammates and the manager went. I mean, that would play a big factor into it. But unless you're getting someone slightly established, it's not worth getting rid of him. Definitely, they shouldn't get rid of him if they don't get Vlahovic or someone established.
Yeah.
I really don't see the sense in that. What to save
Because
money.
yeah. Well, I mean, I don't even see
Financially.
Nketiah as a backup.
And I do understand if there's a market for him. I know quite a few of the Emirates clubs have come in for him. A couple of them are vying for him.
Yeah.
There'll be other, elite clubs still going for him.
There's still a couple of the European team want him. So
yeah, so I do understand because of the wages he's on and how hard it's been to get rid of some big, guys on big wages. The temptation, but you got a chance to get into top 4 this season, and you can't really trust these players to be, to keep their levels all the way through the squad. Well, and you look at the fixture list; it's packed.
It's packed, yeah.
It's packed till the end of the season, whether you're in Europe or not. It's a risk. It'd be interesting to see how they go. Really,
they got 2 weeks break.
Like they're trying to clear out the decks.
Got 2 weeks break, but I mean, it's a massive 2 week because I mean, if they don't get reinforcement and they get rid of Aubameyang, it could be huge in the race for the top 4. For them.
Well, only thing I would say is if it's got to the point where Arteta has lost complete faith in him and is not even going to use him, is going to continue to not even have him in the squad, then yeah, what's the point of keeping him? Just get rid of him.
Get rid of him, yeah.
But I do think there's a value in keeping some form of competition for Lacazette to make sure Lacazette keeps his form going.
Yeah,
because he has to be playing to create enough interest for someone to want to take him on, and he has to be playing to a good standard. But if he's guaranteed play time with that much competition, that might affect how much, because right now he's putting his body on the line, or was until yesterday with this link-up play. So,
in terms of, I mean, Burnley, Adil, can they survive? Good point yesterday.
Well, you're never going to rule out Sean Dyche's team. Yeah, but 6
points off.
At the end of the day, they're
sorry, 4 points off. 4 games in hand against Norwich. So he's got loads of games.
Doesn't matter how many games in hand they had. They could have 20 games in hand. If the previous 18 they've been losing, doesn't mean they're going to win that many, are they?
They seem to get a lot of draws. 9 draws, 8 losses, 1 win only.
Yeah, and it just proves what a good job and what a good manager Dyche is, because barely knows. And you see the games where they've scored are the games Cornet has played, and him being injured has kind of taken an attacking threat away, because he's got end product, and we already know Cornet is a quality player. I'm still shocked that Burnley were the team to get him. Still shocked, not enough. Some director of football should be getting sacked. Like Cornet is being a quality player at Lyon for many years.
Yeah,
and how no one else went for him other than Burnley is
another point to look at. Only minus 11 goal difference. What they conceded, I think 26 goals, or 27, and scored 16. So it shows that.
I said you're pulling out these stats, but at the end of the day, the points is all that counts. Right now.
I'm talking in terms of like, can they survive? Can they get the goals they need to push it? Because I mean, they got rid of Chris Wood as well. Key, what? Cornet is the real key.
Who's gonna? Yeah. Well, when Cornet comes, he'll get some goals for them. But who else gonna get goals for them? Defensively they're good. Did they really look a threat against Arsenal?
No.
Can't remember hardly any real chances. I mean, they got the ball and they played their style. They caused a few problems, but they never look like they're going to do anything when they're going to create something really clear cut. So, how are they going to get goals?
Big game against Watford, next.
Yeah, I mean, they'll definitely need to win that.
Yeah. Talking of Watford, Ranieri, 3 months, sacked.
Yeah, not surprised. I remember when they signed him, we said, what the heck are they doing? You know, so getting Ranieri. Ranieri is old school, lost his touch. You know, he's done terrible at every job since he's taken over, since he won the title.
Well, since he's left, he's had five jobs sacked from every single one.
Yeah, and every single one has been like a relegation battle. Do you get it? It's not really improved. Fulham, he didn't do anything of note other than spend 100 mil. You know, what did he do at Fulham? Nothing. You know, he last of Sampdoria, you know, took them, you know, made them worse. So I just think he's a manager who just doesn't have that energy or influence over this generation of players anymore.
Can't motivate them. He hasn't got that.
Yeah, he hasn't got that. You know, he's you know, even when you see him, you know, in his interviews, it's like you can just tell how is he going to motivate players now. He just hasn't got that. And it's a strange appointment anyway. And we all know Watford love to sack a manager.
This is what I was gonna say with Watford. What is this like managerial changes? Like they go through 3 managers per season, it seems.
Yeah, but the thing is, they don't ever sign any big name manager anyway. Like Ranieri is probably the biggest name, but he's way over the hill. No one was challenging or fighting Watford to sign Ranieri as manager. Let's be honest. They're plucking at these mediocre managers who are young and show potential, but ultimately they're not big names. So you know, getting rid of them is nothing. It's not a big deal. So that's their model. It's worked for the short term, hasn't worked long term for them. So you know that's the thing. But when you look at their squad, there is a decent team there, especially if you look at the teams at the bottom. Attackers are good. Their defending is terrible. Their defenders are terrible. You know, but they have a good midfield. You know, Sissoko's been playing real good recently. And they have really good attackers. They got attackers that excite you. You know, when they can protect or they can run at you. They got pace. So, you know,
I mean, they got 4 players that would probably go into any of these like bottom 10 teams, even a few more. I mean, Dennis, Josh King, you got Pedro, and then Ismail Assar is away in African Cup Nation. But...
yeah, I'd question whether Pedro would make it into these big teams, but as good as he is, potential-wise. But yeah, Dennis definitely will. Joshua King is proven, and so is Ismail Assar. Yeah, so yeah, maybe I think they've made the right decision getting rid of Ranieri. He actually offered nothing, done nothing. I can't really see, you know, and the thing was his mindset was the problem. Every time they took the lead in a game, they sat off and gave the initiative away. You know, he just done too much tactics. You know, at that you know level where the team is at, just let them play. The only time Watford look good is when he lets them attack. And when they try and drop deep, play tactical, they just get easily. You know, they concede. If your weakest area is defense and you got some really bad defenders, you know, I know he's surprisingly the captain of Nigeria, and the moment I saw that, I knew Nigeria weren't going to do anything in the African Nations Cup. Truth Ekong, one of the worst defenders I've ever seen. You know, he's up there with Kieran Clark as, you know, the worst defenders this season. And how he was the captain of Nigeria, I'll never know. But guess what? They're out of the African Nations Cup. Not surprised. You got a terrible defender as your captain. But yeah, that's how bad Watford is. If your defense is that bad, just let the team attack.
I mean, great result for Norwich, Adil. 3-0.
Yeah, they're on a bit of a run.
Yeah, 2 games, 2 wins.
Yeah, slightly fortuitous, in the sense that I thought Watford were the better team.
They were, yeah.
But they got the goals.
They were clinical.
They had the
I mean,
belief.
great goal by Surgeon, by the way. That scorpion kick.
Yeah, and it's just one of those natural reaction, get something on it, and that shows the positivity of the team. They're still playing to win. They're still playing with positivity. They're getting people into the box. They're getting the ball into the box. They're not overcomplicating things. So yeah, it's good because you don't Norwich, their team that's developing. They do so many things the right way. They get a lot of their better players poached. And you just feel like they just need to stay up one season and then they might be able to establish themselves like Southampton.
Yeah.
Like they'll be one of those Southampton type of teams where they'll get these youngsters, allow one to be sold for big money every year, but they do enough things the right way. So I'm glad they're making a fist of it because it doesn't deserve to be a club that's stranded, completely far away from everybody. They've got a lot of good things there, a lot of good players. They're honest club, honest manager. I still don't think they've got enough to get through, but this has to give them hope. At the end of the day, someone has to get the points and get out. There's enough teams similar to their level to get, it's not going to be a total shock if they stayed up, and it'd be nice because they're a good team. They play good football.
They do. I don't know how I've forgotten about this, but Manchester United 1-0 win, West Ham. What did you think?
Lucky result, really, in the sense that even though United they controlled the first half, they were, much the better first half. Second half was West Ham played well, and the time when West Ham really started to seem like they're the stronger team, they got carried away. They got too excited. They lost their discipline. Everyone's bombing forward. Obviously, United are going gun ho.
Yeah.
Bombing forward and putting loads of attackers on the pitch and kind of unbalancing their lineup and got hit on the counter. But it just felt like West Ham got carried away with themselves.
They seem very sloppy as well. I mean, they were giving away a lot of balls willy-nilly, really.
But like I said, West Ham have been doing this for quite a long time, where they only seem to perform once they. But all right, we touched on it last week briefly when we said this is the Moyes system away from home. He relies on mistakes. He wants to be solid. They don't play with too much ambition. And then suddenly they go a goal down and you suddenly see them dominating the game, playing really good. And you think, wow, this is a good team. Why don't they ever start the game like that? But he's got a formula that works away from home. He's won a lot of games. But we said the reason why it's not working right now is because the quality of the defenders aren't there. I kid you not, if Zuma was not playing, United would have been at least 1 or 2 up in the first half. Zuma, him coming back in, made a huge difference to their back line. And that shows you why they're getting a lot of away wins at the start of the season, because Ogbonna and Zuma really make this, tactical game plan that Moyes sets his teams up away from home work, because they soak up the pressure. They'll try and be solid and then force a mistake and take what they can. Yeah. But they won't play with risk. They won't play with too much ambition. And when you got good defenders, you can do stuff like that. So Zuma really did save them on a lot of 50-50s, a lot of potential easy tap-in chances. He was the last line of defense. He's really good. But Dawson ain't on Ogbonna's level, and Ogbonna's still out. So what's happening is you're still seeing chances happening, and you're still seeing them concede goals. So I think right now, away from home, they're gonna keep losing until they get another centre back who's good enough, alongside Zuma. Then you're going to see them again. But that game planning that he does, which is not being ambitious and not be, I think it's costing them, because they're right now, unless you have the defenders to play that style, they're probably, they've shown it. They're good enough just to play how they play at home, which is take the game to the opposition and score. And all right, we're criticizing them in the end because they kind of got carried away with it at Old Trafford. But I think that's the Moyes failure at Old Trafford factor kicked in, i.e., he got a bit carried away. The players got carried away. They probably wanted to win it for Moyes, and at Old Trafford and make that statement. Everyone keeps going on about he's not won there with the opposition club. So maybe all of that talk had an effect, because it was a bit strange how Fredericks was high up the pitch.
Yeah, he was,
along.
he's the one.
Then you got Bowen high up the pitch. Then you got Declan Rice nowhere to see, and then it's like,
asking for trouble, isn't it?
Are you looking at the subs that United brought on? Marshall, they're never short of a left winger. Do you get it? With pace. Do you get it? So why push up on that side so much? So maybe tactically he made a mistake bringing Fredericks on. I thought it was a gamble bringing an attacking right back on.
In terms of United, it's massive, right? Because last minute winners always galvanizes the team.
Yeah, and I think as much as the performances, it's still hard to watch. It's hard to see. It's still slightly dysfunctional. It is getting better, and they are, like, the last two games they have dominated the games more. Like the Aston Villa one, as much as they let a 2-goal lead slip, they actually dominated that game for large parts, which was good to see. This game they dominated the game for large parts. You still do wonder how they're gonna create chances, and Fred had a chance, and that was the only real clicker. I did one thing. Zuma tackle on Ronaldo, another clear penalty for me. How you can just take someone out when they're about to take a shot, and then so that's another strange decision. Doesn't matter whether the ball is in the air or not. You can't just wipe someone out.
Take the guy out.
The box. So another strange decision. But I just think, they're doing enough.
Do you think he's finally kind of figuring out his best 11 and who to play and how he's kind of like managing?
I think he's figuring out the adjustments he needs to make, because I think with the system he plays, it's all about getting the balance right according to the formation of the opposition. So on this one, he played a kind of a 4-2-3-1, not really a 4-2-2-2, like, So he is starting to make adjustments to it. And he is also changing the whole heavy metal, gun-ho style. So they are dropping off now. They are always pressing. He made, managed the game better. The previous game by bringing on, can't remember who they played, but by bringing on defensive players at the right time. So, yeah, I think he's slowly starting to make the adjustments needed for the Premier, starting to understand what it's like. And he said it against Aston Villa game, the Premiership, the game is never really won. It is the best league in the world, because even the lower teams will go for it, will believe that they can beat, which he wasn't used to from Germany and other clubs. So I think he's respecting teams more. He's making better decision subs now, and they're getting there. And you have to regret the points they've dropped late, against Villa and whoever else.
They're in a great position. If they win their 2 games in hand, they go 3 points behind Chelsea.
Yeah, but no one's going to say with that much confidence that United is a team that's going to win those 2 games in hand. it's going to be one thing for sure. It's going to be tight. It's going to be a struggle.
Yeah, I mean, because Tottenham
the
go
margins
four
of
games.
the margins of the victories are like they've all been close games
Yeah.
and all been kind of all right. United slightly the better team, but not creating that much more. And De Gea has been big. This is the first game De Gea wasn't really a factor for a long time, but I can't remember who they beat 3-1 just beforehand. The first half, De Gea was the best.
De Gea made Brentford.
Yeah. So
massive saves.
Yeah. So you have to you have to be honest and say they're getting results and they are improving, but you're never gonna say they can roll off 5-6 wins in a row. It's competitive, and they're just about getting their noses ahead in these games.
Well, I mean, the top four race between the four teams, it just seems fascinating, really. 38, 37, 36 points. And Wolves in the mix as well, if you look at it, kind of.
It seemed really like, the top three are going to fly away, and West Ham are going to occupy that place and then maybe do a less than one of the big teams will catch them up. But now what's happened is Arsenal's got their act together, Tottenham have got their act together under Conte, and United, who are kind of ahead, has kind of let the other clubs in, and now are starting to get their act together.
If Tottenham win their 4 games in hand, they go above Chelsea.
If, innit? The big thing is, I don't make a big deal out of these games in hand. But unless there's City or Liverpool, who can roll off 10, 12 wins in a row, it doesn't matter. They're not guaranteed to get 12 points.
Let's hope you're right. I hope you're right.
Say the same for Arsenal as well.
That's the Arsenal in me. No?
all of those teams will keep dropping points, so they'll keep it interesting.
Heartaches. Wolves, I mean, they seem to be making great progress.
Yeah,
up to 34 points.
Yeah, I like a lot of what they're doing. The only thing I worry about is
they won four of their last 5, drawing 1.
Yeah, because what's happening is, not all of them have they been great. City has been quite even some of those games, but those teams don't have, because if you look at even against the top teams, they've given them all good games, and it's the difference is they're not coming up against the top 4 defenders or the top 4 defenses that don't make mistakes. So they kind of are picking off teams eventually, and taking their chances. But I still think their biggest problem would be their style of football is precision football. It's one guy making the run and one ball. It has to be perfect for them to create those chances. It's not a brand of football where it's there's multiple options. They're attacking with a specific idea in mind and a specific player being released and a specific one-on-one being created. That type of football is, unless you have a super clinical striker who kind of puts 75%, 80% of those chances away. That brand of football is hard to see you scoring enough. So defensively, he's definitely got a really good system going there. It's working. The players really understand it. Even the big teams have really struggled to open Wolves up. I mean, off the ball, they're very good. On the ball, they play neat stuff. The question is whether they can create enough chances. That brand of football, whether the percentages are high enough to sustain winning games all day, but it'll be close with them all the way.
I mean, that's about it, really. No one really else interesting to talk about.
What we do know is there'll be a lot to talk about once this international week goes.
Well, and then you got FA Cups as well. So, and then, so obviously we got that rest period as well, where certain teams getting rest and then so on and so forth. So I think it'll be, about a couple of weeks and then you start again, the whole ball running again.
Well, we've got the last week of the window.
Transfer window,
Which for some reason at the start of this transfer window, I was expecting it to be a mega window. I don't know why. I just felt like, these Prem teams got money to burn.
Still time, Adil. Still time. You still got Newcastle still trying to big.
Yeah, but it just seems like but you can tell there's not even that many rumors.
Yeah.
There's not that many, it seems like a window where a lot of the British clubs are trying to clear players, trying to get rid of dead wood, rather than, you look at all the conversations, United are trying to get rid of Deadwood, Tottenham are, Arsenal are, Liverpool are, Liverpool are always trying to get rid of squad players without signing, so that's not a surprise there. But every club seems to be more interested in getting rid of players, and City might do a massive coup if they take Alvarez.
Oh, that's a good one.
Because he looks a player, and
next Aguero.
I was actually really happy when I saw United were interested and negotiated him, but it's a no-brainer. Once City comes into it, it's a no-brainer. Who would want to take over the legacy of Kun Aguero?
Yeah, it is similar type of player as well, isn't it?
I think it's a smart signing because the thing is, they've tried getting strikers. Everyone's quoted them stupid money for Kane, for Vlahovic, whoever they've gone for. They've been quoted silly money. I think they're never gonna play with a out-and-out striker, false nine every single game.
Yeah,
they're gonna rotate how they are. So it makes sense to get an up-and-coming, seriously good, promising striker. Klopp, we know, is very good with young players. So I think this fits what they need right now. And again, it'll give them more money to spend on another playmaker, another 100 million, another up-and-coming playmaker.
Or go for Haaland in the summer.
Nah, I just don't. I don't know. I just don't see the City team
going for Haaland.
City structure being controlled, and when Haaland's going to Real Madrid, that's what's gonna. He's going to Spain.
Let's see. Adil, thank you for joining us. For those of you watching, thank you for watching. As always, please like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.